immediately. Boone County Schools, please click here to.
Do you need me to email you the link?
Well, it's asking me for.
Shouldn't have to log in.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get on Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
It usually is.
Your audio.
Should have been doing this 10 minutes ago.
I turned both off this time, so we should be good.
So which one are we supposed to turn on? Turn this back on? So you want me to turn this
And then click on you.
I don't wait for you to get on.
Do I need to turn this
Our special ed director gave me a little message that I could read, or you could read, or one point about the importance of providing special ed services, how we're gonna make that a priority.
excuse me there, let me start over. I would like to introduce Miss Tony Clevenger, a senior at Cooper High School. She was elected by her peers as the student board representative for the upcoming 2020-2021 school year. Ms. Clevenger will be the 19th student representative elected to the Boone County Schools Board of Education by the student delegates of the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council. The Superintendent's Student Advisory Council was established as a venue for authentic student voice in 2002. The student board representative is a non-voting member of the Board of Education representing all students. Ms. Clevenger will preside over the Superintendent's Student Advisory Council at the start of this current school year. We would like to welcome and thank the Honorable Judge Schrand for being here tonight to swear in our newest student board member representative, Ms. Tony Clevenger. Judge Schrand.
Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth, and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, so long as you continue a citizen thereof, and that you will faithfully execute to the best of your ability the office of school board member according to law, and you further solemnly swear that since the adoption of the present Constitution, you being a citizen of this state, have not fought a duel with deadly weapons within this state or out of it, nor have you sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have you acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, and that you will not, while serving as a member of such board, become interested directly or indirectly in any contract with or claim against the board, and that you will not in any way influence the hiring of the superintendent of schools or school board attorney.
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you and congratulations, Tony. We would like to take the time this evening to recognize and congratulate the new administrators for the upcoming school year. Normally, we would have these administrators here in attendance for the board meeting, but with how we're required to conduct business, that was not possible at this time. We would like to acknowledge the following administrators and welcome them to their new roles in the school district. Mrs. Stephanie Caldwell, new Director of Food Services, who served in the same position at Campbell County. Jody Hall, Director of Special Education Services. This is a promotion from Assistant Director of Special Education Services. She has served the Boone County Schools for 4 years. Jennifer Miller, Assistant Director of Special Education Services. This is a promotion from Special Education Coordinator, and she has been with the Boone County Schools for 4 years. Andy Gatewood, new principal at Burlington Elementary. He was promoted from the vice principal position at Camp Ernst Middle School, where he served for the last 4 years. Matt Schaefer, principal at Ryle High School. This is a promotion as Matt served as the assistant principal at Ryle High School for 2 years and has been with the district since 2018. Cody Ryan, assistant principal at Ryle High School. He was promoted from the vice principal position at Ryle High School, where he served for 5 years. Morgan Medias, vice principal at Ryle High School. This is a promotion, and Morgan previously was a teacher at Connor High School for 13 years. Emily Green, assistant principal at Burlington Elementary. This is a promotion as Emily was the expanded learning opportunities coordinator with the Boone County Schools for 4 years. Richard Breedenberg, vice principal of Camp Ernst Middle School. Richard was promoted from the teaching position at Camp Ernst, where he taught for 14 years. Sharon Reynolds, Vice Principal of Jones Middle School. Sharon was promoted after teaching at Jones Middle School for 19 years. Norma Lawless, Assistant Principal at Collins Elementary. Norma is new to the Boone County Schools, and she comes to us from Fort Thomas Independent, where she was previously an assistant principal. Amy Maiden, Assistant Principal at Collins Elementary School. Amy is new to our district also. She comes to us from the Hamilton City Schools, where she was an assistant principal. And Christine Deal, Assistant Principal at New Haven Elementary. This is a promotion as she has been a teacher and a guidance counselor within the Boone County Schools for 19 years. So thank you very much, and we welcome all of the new administrators to their new roles here in Boone County, and we're excited to have them with us.
Thank you for that, Mr. Turner. That brings us to item 4, our student board member representative report. We'd like to welcome Tony Clevenger to the board as our student representative and hand the floor over to her for a few updates.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tony, and I'm very excited to be here. A little bit about myself. I'm a rising senior at Cooper High School. I'm involved in speech and debate, National Honor Society, as well as our freshman mentor program. I've also been a member of the Superintendent Student Advisory Council since my sophomore year. To me, the biggest thing that this council fosters a sense of community, not only through all of the schools in our county, but also through all of the grade levels. This is extremely important because not only do the younger children, such as middle school and elementary schoolers, get to learn from our high school leaders, as well as our community leaders, but also we get to learn from them due to their open mind and initiative that they constantly hold. It is an overall beneficial experience. When it comes to the upcoming school year and how I see this council, obviously I'm uncertain. However, when I was campaigning for this position, one of the biggest things I had initiative for was to integrate more community service into the council. And I still think that is possible. And the upcoming school year, I think it might even be more important due to the unprecedented circumstances and how that's affected our community. Overall, and in sum, I'm extremely excited to have this position, and I'm excited to see what the upcoming school year has for us to hold. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that update and welcome, and we look forward to working with you. I think the focus on community service is very kind of forward thinking for the group and something that we'll definitely need this year, so thank you. Okay, that brings us to item 5, audience of citizens. Do we have anyone registered to speak tonight? It looks like we don't have anyone that registered to speak. Is there anyone in the room that wants to address the board at this time? Okay, before we move to item 6, I would like to recommend that we amend the agenda tonight to include a resolution regarding the recommended delay of in-person instruction for the 2021 school year. So I have made a recommendation to the board to add to the agenda the resolution regarding the recommended delay in in-person instruction for 2021 school year. I'd like to propose we add that under item D, new business, which we will discuss the details of the resolution when we get to that point in the agenda. So with that recommendation, do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion, I have a second. A motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries. We will address that here in a few minutes in the new business section of the meeting. Okay, that brings us to recommended action consent agenda, item 6. Consent items A through triple Q, Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I recommend the board to approve the recommended action consent item agendas for items A through triple Q as presented with the treasurer's report by Mrs. Linda Shield.
We began the month and the year with a cash balance of $29,701,411. We had receipts for the month of $6,778,345. Total expenditures, $5,906,033. We had a net increase in cash for the month of $872,312. Our balance at the end of the month was $30,573,723. Some highlights, our cash balance is actually very comparable to this time last year. We also had 159,000 of omitted property taxes that were collected this month. We had 1.6 million of taxes from the public service corporations. 400,000 of that was restricted for the building fund. I've had some questions and just wanted to point out that the taxes from the public service corporations are somewhat unpredictable compared to the other tax revenues. The reason for that is that they undergo a separate process by the Department of Revenue for audit and potentially appeals processes. Sometimes those appeals processes can take a while, and we will collect monies from several years at a time. And so we don't really ever know when we are collecting those dollars. We also had a refund of unemployment payments related to the last fiscal year. That was almost 215,000. Last year, this refund was 166,000, so we saw a bit of an increase. We had 50,000 that was transferred for the operation of the Ignite Fund, and our debt service payments this month were 4.7 million. And I'll be happy to answer questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you for that update. So we have a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I ask to be recognized to excuse myself from item 6 double Q. I'm not voting in regard to it.
Okay, thank you, Troy. Okay, so we have a recommendation. Do I have a motion? In a second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion or questions on any of these items? I know there was a little bit of outreach throughout the district this week, but anything we need to follow up on?
I had a quick question regarding, I know there's some sales campaigns in the schools, and some of those are things like dances, Halloween dances. Do those need to be resubmitted if those change, or once we approve them, is it kind of understood that, okay, if you can't have a dance, you can do a virtual dance or a virtual fundraiser or something? How does that change with regard to the moving target of when we're able to do these things?
I believe that in general, that those are kept and they stay in place unless there's substantial change to those requests. Mr. McCarter, I'm not sure if you have anything that you may want to add to that answer.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Okay, we have a recommendation and motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries on that one. Okay, that brings us to item 7, recommended action, old business, which we have none. So moving on to item 8, recommended action, new business, Mr. Turner.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the 2020-2021 granting of additional emergency days due to COVID-19 as presented.
Okay, thank you. We have a recommendation. Okay, we have a recommendation. Have a motion, please.
Second.
Okay, any discussion or questions on that? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Brings us to item B, board policy update and approval, first reading. Mr. Turner.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend the board to approve the board policy update, first reading as presented.
Okay, we have a recommendation, have a motion, please.
So moved.
The one's on mute. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All right, thank you. Okay, any discussion there or questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Brings us to item C, emergency reading for Title IX sexual harassment policy updates. Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I recommend the board to approve the emergency reading for Title IX sexual harassment policy updates as presented. If I may note, it is an emergency as the law actually takes effect on Friday, August the 14th, therefore cannot have two readings.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved.
So I have a motion, and a second.
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 They kind of both did it, didn't they? All right, any questions here?
We're all doing.
Mr. Turner, I know you briefly mentioned it's an emergency because it goes into effect so soon. And that's just kind of a function of when we got it from,
The Kentucky School Board Association.
right, yeah,
Policy.
okay. Yeah, I think a couple of us asked the question, just to be clear,
Yes.
the emergency, just making sure that someone doesn't think we have an emergency in the district.
Correct. No.
So, okay. So with that said, any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, that brings us to our new item D, the resolution regarding the recommended delay of in-person instruction for 2020-21 school year. Mr. Turner.
From the amended agenda tonight, I recommend the board to approve the resolution regarding the recommended delay of in-person instruction for the 2020-2021 school year as presented.
Okay, we have a recommendation for the resolution. Before the discussion, I'd like to give each of you a couple of minutes to read that. It's been in your packet since you got here, but you might not have had a chance to look at it. And then we can have some discussion, and here in a second, I'll read it into the record. Okay, I'll go ahead and read the resolution. So this is a resolution regarding the recommended delay of in-person instruction for the 2020-2021 school year. Whereas the governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the Kentucky Department of Education have recommended that the start of in-person instruction be delayed until September 28, 2020. And whereas this action was taken without consultation with local school districts, and whereas the Boone County Board of Education does not appreciate being forced into this position by the governor and the Kentucky Department of Education, we know students are best served academically, socially, and emotionally when they are educated in person. Students with special needs, English language learners, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students are impacted significantly by closing in-person instruction. Our community and families are impacted in negative ways as well. We are particularly alarmed at the lack of discussion from our state leadership regarding the negative impact on our students when we close schools to in-person instruction, such as depression, anxiety, abuse, suicide, etc. And whereas our district staff has worked diligently this summer to prepare to greet students in our buildings, we know our team of educators and support personnel can teach and care for students in person safely. Upon consultation with several parties and hearing Commissioner Brown's webcast late Tuesday, it is clear this is a battle we cannot win at this time. The timing of the governor's announcement is especially detrimental to ongoing planning and professional development across our district. And whereas the Board of Education wishes to publicly thank our district team for their work in preparation for the 2020-2021 school year. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Boone County Board of Education as follows. The Boone County Board of Education formally requests a meeting with Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Glass, and Dr. Young from the Kentucky Department of Education to gain an understanding of the parameters used to make this decision and how we return to in-person instruction. So that's from the Boone County Board of Education and would be signed by myself and Karen Evans, our secretary. So I'd like to open it for discussion at this time. Any comments on the matter?
I'll just make a comment. I know many people were probably listening today to the public webinar that was put out by the interim Commissioner Brown regarding this very scenario. And some of the things that concerned me when we saw that were that Kentucky currently does not have the capacity to give us regional and or county specific positivity rates. And they do not anticipate that coming online. There was no date given. It was asked several times and they said, we just can't do it yet. We can't do it yet. They're depending upon the local testing companies that are actually doing the tests to report that data. It's voluntary. It is not legally required that they report that. So we know how many positives we have in Kentucky, but we don't know the denominator. We don't know how many total tests were done in Boone County. We don't know how many were regional. Even if we were able to get Boone County, from what we're hearing, it won't matter because there's a cross-district movement of personnel. So my concern is that unless Kentucky as a whole does not drop below that 5% mark, we're just kicking the can down the road. So I think that was the concern we heard from a number of board members who submitted questions through this webinar. So I think it's important that we let them know that we are concerned about the students that are not being met virtually. We're concerned about our English language learners. We're concerned about our kids with IEPs and 504s. That was specifically addressed in the webinar today. And you know what they said? You can do most of those services later. They said, leave it up to the ARC. The ARC can decide that. I have parents who've contacted me who have kids that are in wheelchairs with trachs. How are we providing our services to them virtually? It's not possible. And their comment was, your ARCs can deal with that. And if you can't provide these services now, you can provide them later. Well, that's not good enough for a family who needs services now. So that's my concern. And I think when we look at that, we look at the kids that we normally look at in our gap, and we know that gap is huge and it's going to just get bigger and bigger. And we're going to have to chase these kids down to catch them up. And if we can't catch them up, we know a solid education is their only chance to get out of where they are right now. So I think I can speak for myself and say that I was very frustrated that we felt like we were caught in a corner, and based upon the semantics of recommendation versus mandate versus executive order, we don't really have much of a choice. Oh, and the threats, yeah, that there weren't consequences, but there were consequences, and the comparison of it's all a bunch of semantics. And our concern is doing what we can for our kids to provide the best services we can. So I guess I want people to know that we're mad and we're gonna do what we can with what we can to do the best we can. And I think that's all any of us can recommend. That's all we can do. We know we have great teachers. We know we have great administrators. We know they're doing great things. They're 24 hours in a day. And we made our principals pivot again, all over. I mean, again. And, I don't know. So we wanted to make sure that everyone knew how hard we know you're working, and we appreciate it. And we're all in this fight together. So sorry, it makes me mad, but that's my 2 cents. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I just want to say a few words from what you had just mentioned in the resolution. I think that along with Mr. Turner and our district team, you all did a fabulous job on the collaboration of what you did as far as getting to where we were earlier this week. And I do want to voice for all the parents in the county, community leaders, business leaders, that we've heard your voice. We understand. We understand your frustration. I do want to note that we've got to be sure that we take politics out of this and that we focus on the kids. Regardless of the situation, we know where we're at. We can't point fingers. We live this every day, but we do appreciate everything that each of you have mentioned to us, whether it's been by phone call, by text, by email, by side gestures on the road or at Kroger. So I'll just reemphasize again that we appreciate your concerns. We understand it. We know where you stand, but we have to do what's right for the sake of our district and for our kids. This is a Commonwealth of Kentucky. And I think as our board chair mentioned right in the beginning of this, the governor of the Commonwealth of Kentucky and the Kentucky Department of Education was recommended to start of an in-person instruction or in-person instruction delayed September 28th. We know some of the comments that were made, the Commonwealth wasn't heard from our taxpayers here in the county. We understand that. We just ask for you to be patient a bit longer with us. This was thrown as a curve, and we'll get this back to where we need it to get back to. Trust these people, trust our leaders. These people are the best in the business and the best in the state. This is a very diverse county, unlike some of them in the state. So we have a lot of parameters that we not only have to look and judge at, but just as important to be sure that it's the right thing for everyone. Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. So we have a recommendation and a motion in a second. All in favor of the resolution, say aye, please.
Aye.
Oh, I didn't?
Aye.
Hold on. We didn't do it? Oh, I thought I asked for it. Sorry about that. I think she was just voting. Did one of y'all have, did you want to speak into it?
I'm debating on the wisdom of me speaking, frankly.
I'm with Karen.
All I can say is I'm thankful I'm back to work full time, so I don't have to listen to these webinars in the afternoon, because then my whole day would be ruined as opposed to just my evening. And I first want to apologize to our district staff for the blood, sweat, and tears that you've put into preparing for us to open in person in the 25th. And I firmly believe, because of the quality of the leadership that we have across the board, that we could do that safely for the overwhelming majority of families and teachers that said they too wanted to be back in the buildings. Otherwise, I would not have wanted to support coming back, because to me, my worst fear is someone, a child, a staff member, an administrator, anyone getting sick because of we reopening schools. But I believe if teachers chose to come back, it's because they felt they could do it safely. If families were choosing to send their children back, it's because they had the confidence that we too could instruct them safely. And to have an entity in the government who's not in our county make a decision for us, or threaten us, or try to bully us, or make recommendations that have consequences infuriates me. I don't know of anyone that was contacted. Was anybody in this room contacted? Yeah, we need to stay. They come to Boone County for everything else. So my idea is they don't really care what we think. Well, I think they need to hear what we think. And I saw Brad Hughes of ASBA put out a tweet over interim commissioner's webcast this afternoon, which
again, I didn't get to listen to, but he does a great job of summarizing it with just giving you the facts. And they were asking the question of, so why are you doing this afternoon? And he said, well, we've heard there's some controversies in some communities. And I laughed. I'm thinking, you think there's controversy? Well, why is there controversy? Well, you have controversy when you don't involve the people who you're making these unreasonable recommendations to and requirements for without calling them requirements, because frankly, you don't really have the guts to. And our road was to still reopening in person on August the 25th. The only reason that I'm supporting this action is because I have the utmost respect for our new superintendent, Mr. Matt Turner. And if he tells me that we're in a losing battle right now, then I trust that, and we'll live to fight another day, and fight we will. The only thing about this resolution that I would wish that we could maybe try to do a little differently is when we say the parameters used to make the decision and how we return to in-person instruction, I would like to include in that discussion when. What do we have to do, and what can we do to not have to wait till September the 28th to get our kids back in school? For the families that need their children back in school, for the teachers who know their children need them there in their classrooms, while respecting our staff that have concerns and who are willing to give quality education online. If anybody can do this, it is Boone County Schools and the people that we have here. And so to our staff, I apologize, because we should not be in this. We should never have been put in this position. Never.
So are you asking to change the last sentence to like as soon as possible, or September 14th, or a certain date? Can we make a change, Jerry? We can make it. Yeah.
I would suggest the document interlegiated legislature. That would be part of the next.
Well, and the reason is, as Dr. Brown so eloquently said, they can't give straight answers on timing of anything. Or this announcement wouldn't have come out this week when they know that we're trying to get ready to get back to school for our kids. And that takes planning, that takes the professional development that our principals have been sweating over putting together to get our teachers ready. And it's time to hold them accountable. I mean, with as much of our education that our local taxpayers are paying for, they don't really have that much influence with me anymore.
Mr. Chair, before Julie makes a few comments, I just ask on that then, have we heard back from the commissioner or from anyone at the state of when our meeting's going to be on the district's behalf?
Yes, Mr. Turner reached out yesterday. We have a meeting with them tomorrow afternoon.
Is that a Zoom meeting?
Yeah, basically, it's a Teams meeting.
So they're not coming in district?
No.
Figures.
I'm sure they're busy. Okay, how about if we just say honor prior to September 28th, 2020 at the end of that. So, you know, basically parameters used to make the decision how to return to in-person instruction on or prior. Does that work? On or prior to September 28th, 2020.
The question would also be is, does it need to be all of our students, or can we start at a graduated level, at least get K-3 in our special needs and our ELLs? Right now, the way the statement is, no kids in the buildings, no in-person instruction, and we have got to start getting some of these kids in.
Yeah, that's definitely on the radar to talk about tomorrow.
I guess I'll say a few words. I agree with Karen. I was very frustrated when I heard the commissioners, I think it was the Tuesday webcast, when it was a recommendation, but then with consequences. I was asked many times what we were going to be doing, and I kept referring them people to that webcast. The answer was in that webcast. We did not have a choice. Local control was taken away. And then when you ask them questions about data in our district, as far as testing or in our region, they can't give that answer. So they are making assumptions from across the entire state for our region. And you can't do that. We are a school district on ourselves. We have our own community. And to take that local control away goes completely against the grains of our Constitution.
Okay, thanks everyone. So we have a recommendation. Could I get a motion, please? Did you have something else? Let me back up.
I've
All right,
also
Ms.
had a
Burke.
conversation with one of our state representatives. And I would recommend that if you haven't already, talk to everyone that represents Boone County and let them know, because frankly, they are shut out of this process as well. The governor is not reaching out to them. He's not asking them. He's not asking what they're hearing from their communities, what's going on in their communities. And as we know collectively as a group, we cannot make decisions in silos. You have to involve your stakeholders. So if we start putting the pressure on them to get their voices heard, our voices heard through them, I think that is what they're there for, to represent us as well as we here to represent the children.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion, please?
So move.
And a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion will carry. Brings us to item 9, superintendent's report. We do not have a superintendent's report. We're getting those daily and sometimes by the hour, so we didn't need anything special for this evening. So thank you for all that, Mr. Turner, and to the staff here at central office as well as out in the buildings. Okay, item 10, information, proposals, and communications. Anything that we haven't touched on tonight that someone wants to bring up or discuss?
Kind of a reminder that our regional KSBA meeting will be done virtually in September, I believe it is. I don't have the date on the top of my head, but just kind of keep that in your minds. I think they're still going to try to do a training session like they've been doing if you still need hours of any kind. So just in the midst of all the chaos, keep that on September 21st. Okay, just keep that in mind for our region. And our board of directors meeting for KSBA will be around that time in September as well. But we've, other than the governance committee, which is the officers and the committee chairs, of which I'm one, we attend in person to maintain the numbers requirement and distancing requirement, and everyone else does attend those virtually as well. So anything that anyone would want me to carry to that meeting in September, just let me know.
Okay, anything else?
I do have one thing I would like to mention. I know a number of people, teachers and administration district, have read the book Hacking School Discipline. The authors of that book, Brad Weinstein and Nathan Maynard, are going to be on virtual parent camp on September 9th to discuss that book. I did the book study with the Rise Academy instructors and reached out to them, and they agreed to come on. So I invite everyone who has read. It's a great book, not only for school discipline. There's a lot of skills and processes in there that's applicable to. I saw myself using it with my kids when they get into arguments. And also if you're an employer with employees, how to handle employee disputes. So I just would like to invite her. It's September 9th at 8 o'clock. The registration form isn't out yet, but it should be within the next couple of weeks.
I just got a text from my wife. She's asking, does it work for husbands?
I think it goes along well with our PBIS as well. Excellent book.
Okay, anything else? Good updates, thank you. Okay, that brings us to item 11, close
I
executive.
did have one request.
Oh my goodness.
I know, I told you I should never have taken my mask down. In those fundraisers that Dr. Brown was asking about, I did notice t-shirts in some of those. So for you schools doing your t-shirts, you know I love our district t-shirts. So hit me up and I'll order. I always do.
Okay, thank you. Now, was I able to fully say we don't have a closed executive session? I didn't finish. Do you have anything else? All right, we got to have some fun, right? Stressful enough. All right, so item 11, closed executive session. We do not have one, so that will move us to my sheet cut off, but I guess that's adjournment of the meeting, right? So I will take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
And a second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Finance Corporation of the Boone County Board of Education, August 13, 2020. Do we have an audience of citizens that wants to speak? Doesn't look like we do. That brings us to item 3, approval of the minutes and financial statements A and B. So approval of the minutes and then approval of the financial statements, Mr. Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I recommend the board to approve the corporation meeting minutes of July 16th, 2020 and the financial statements as presented.
Okay, I have a recommendation. Can I get a motion, please?
So move.
Second.
And a second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Brings us to item 4, adjournment of the meeting. Could I get a motion, please?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.